Hi, can you see and hear me? Okay, great. Uh, okay, so thanks, Ziad. I also want to say hello and welcome to the first virtual conference for EvalYouth. I am very excited to introduce you to this initiative. I am one of the co-chairs of EvalYouth, and so today I'm going to be talking about 4 areas that I feel like is really important to let you know about. The first is just an overview of the challenges that we're trying to respond to in EvalYouth. In fact, Ziad sort of talked a little bit about this, so I'm going to add to what he said. The other thing I'm going to talk about is how we at EvalYouth have been thinking about trying to provide a solution to these challenges. We don't necessarily see challenges as a challenge. We see them as opportunities to do something different. So the other thing I want to talk to you about is the talented team of people who are helping carry this important agenda forward. It is not myself or my other co-chair or my vice co-chair. We are a team. We work together, and I think it's really important to recognize the really amazing group of individuals across the globe who are working on this. And lastly, of course, giving you a preview of what's to come for EvalYouth. So first, of course, I want to talk a little bit about the challenges. And one of the things that we know is that there are 2 big challenges we face in evaluation when it comes to youth. And by that, I mean youth stakeholders as well as novice evaluators. But first, some good news. The good news is that demand for high quality, influential professional evaluations is at an all-time high. We know this because we have a couple of indicators, actually lots of indicators that we can point to, and I have just a few examples on this screen to share with you. The first is that the number and size of existing professional associations, known as VOPEs, has increased, and we see this across the globe. There's a great list of VOPEs on the Eval Partners website. If you don't know where your VOPE is, you can go there and find it. In addition, 2015 was designated as the International Year of Evaluation. There were numerous events and across the globe during that time, really showing the strong support and the strong momentum around demand for evaluation worldwide. Of course, there's also rapid expansion of free online training opportunities. This conference is one of them. So we have lots of indicators on the demand side that things are looking pretty good. The picture on the supply side, however, is a little less optimistic and a little less clear. So one of the things we know that's, which we think is a good thing, is that there's evidence that suggests that universities are providing more evaluation degrees, there's more opportunities to earn certificates, there's lots of courses, and professional development opportunities. Ziad talked about the one being offered through Eval Partners. However, we also know when we look particularly at formal training opportunities that this phenomenon is mainly restricted to the United States of America and Canada. That's where we find most of the programs. That isn't to say that there aren't programs in other areas. We do see initiatives popping up in Asia and Europe, Africa, the Middle East, Latin America. But when you look at where the concentration of these programs are, it really does seem to be restricted to the United States of America and Canada. And even when we look across the globe, we may be able to pinpoint places here or there, but we don't actually know a whole lot about those training opportunities. And so there's a lot we don't know. And even in circumstances where there's a supply of evaluators, and particularly young and emerging evaluators, we know that experiences for those who are new to the field are often limited. You know, you just heard Ziad talk about build a door. You know, I mean, part of being able and saying that is that We know that there's an issue in terms of trying to get practical experience, and we also know that that's an important piece of what novice evaluators need to learn. And so part of what I want to talk to you about is sometimes you'll hear folks talk about the challenges of the global south and or the north or things like that. And I think when it comes to the supply side for young and emerging evaluators, it's a problem of both the global south and the global north. And so it's a problem for all of us, right? Now, the second issue that we talk about in the context of EvalYouth, and the second challenge, has to do with youth and young people across the globe. So a couple of facts that you may or may not be aware of, these come from the Office of the Secretary General Envoy on Youth, is that there are more young people in the world than ever before. There are about 1.8 billion young people between the ages of 10 and 24. This is the largest youth population ever. In the world's 48 least developed countries, children or adolescents make up a majority of the populations in those countries. So those proportions are even larger. One of the things that we think is a good thing is that there are more young people in the world than ever before. And what we think this means is it creates unprecedented potential for both economic and social progress. So while we know that the number of youth worldwide is high, the picture in terms of inclusion of youth and young people in the evaluation process, again, less optimistic. There is a recognition that participation of youth in evaluation is desirable, but at this point, we know from published research that it's largely aspirational. That is, we increasingly recognize youth and young people as important stakeholder groups in evaluation, and at the same time, best practices in terms of youth participation in evaluation remains an underdeveloped area. During the International Year of Evaluation, my co-chair and I went on a listening tour, and we heard these two challenges being echoed over and over and over across the globe. And so the one thing we heard over and over as we spoke to young and emerging evaluators, youth stakeholders, VOPEs, and other interested actors was that there's an entire group of young and emerging evaluators who want to be a part of the profession. We affectionately call these folks YE. And there's an entire group of youth and young people who want to be a part of the practice of evaluation as evaluation stakeholders, and we also affectionately call them YPP or YYP. So where does this leave us? Well, we think the solution, one solution, is EvalYouth. EvalYouth is a global network to promote engagement, innovation, and exchange among young and emerging evaluators, youth stakeholders, and key actors. EvalYouth is also aligned with and supports the implementation of the Global Evaluation Agenda. Ziad talked about this. In particular, we see very strong ties between our work and the Eval Agenda 2020 dimension that is focused on building strong individual capabilities for evaluation. And in fact, a number of activities have already been achieved. So if you look on this slide, you'll see some of our accomplishments. I would like to point to the fact that EvalYouth was launched in November 2015, almost a year ago, at the second Global Forum, which was organized by Eval Partners in Kathmandu. So in the last year, our accomplishments have been many, they have been strong, and they have been quickly achieved. Now, at the Global Forum in Nepal, the second Global Forum in Nepal, we had 24 YE that represented 23 different countries attend that forum, and they contributed to the action plan for EvalYouth. Part of what we did was set up task forces, and you see these task forces on the screen. Each of these task forces has two co-chairs and a secretariat to help lead, implement, and oversee the work. And some of the things that we've been tackling over the last year are centered around harvesting spotlight stories of how ye are involved in VOPE governance. We think it's really important to understand how ye are intersecting in terms of leadership with VOPEs. We also are currently engaged in a survey to gather what's going on in terms of the mentoring for young and emerging evaluators. Part of that is that we want to understand what the current status is, but we also want to use this information to think about how we in EvalYouth might design something to meet unmet needs. Of course, we're hosting this virtual conference. The one thing that I am very proud of related to this conference is that it is one of the few virtual conferences that have been done. And it is very rare to have a conference that's being conducted in multiple languages. This conference is being done simultaneously in English, Spanish, and French. We have forged a partnership with UNICEF, which is sort of our home base, if you will, and planning is underway for an EvalYouth training webinar series, a pilot EvalYouth UNICEF internship, and a pilot EvalYouth internship program. We have been getting the word out about EvalYouth and what we've been up to across the globe at conferences. So, for instance, we were at the European Evaluation Society conference. We were at the American Evaluation Association conference. We will be at the conference this month for the Francophone Evaluation Network. We also have plans to try to be at AFREA. And, of course, there is another global forum that will happen in 2017 that we will definitely be at. Our disseminations has been amazing. So, for instance, we're pretty active on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. You may have seen a message from me to tweet about this conference. And routinely across these platforms, we reach thousands of people. Lots of young and emerging evaluators, but not just young and emerging evaluators or youth stakeholders. Of course, I have to recognize that all of this work wouldn't be possible without generous support and funding from our donors who recognize the value of what we're doing and want to support our efforts. And the last thing I want to sort of mention in terms of this slide is when we think about what's been achieved the last year, the response to EvalYouth has been nothing short of electric. We think this is significant because it's an indication that our goals for EvalYouth are properly calibrated to the real world. And because we believe it suggests that the very people we're trying to reach see viability and potential in the way that we're attempting to turn these challenges into opportunities in the context of evaluation. So global support for EvalYouth is strong. On this slide, you see how many have already joined hands in support of EvalYouth. In addition, linguistic and regional subgroups of YE have emerged, demonstrating mobilization on the same objectives across the globe. So, for example, the Francophone Emerging Evaluators Network is for French-speaking evaluators, specifically for emerging or novice evaluators. Also, there's a huge contingent of Spanish-speaking evaluators located in Latin America and the Caribbean region. This is known as EvalYouth LAC. Of course, I have to say this work wouldn't be possible without a stellar team. And let me tell you, I have met amazing people, and I feel so fortunate to work with an amazing group of individuals who are working hard to build and sustain the momentum of EvalYouth. So just to give you a preview of who these folks are, I serve on the executive committee along with Marie Gervais and Khalil Bitar. And of course, you'll see the VOPEs that they represent at the bottom. Task Force 1 is focused on bolstering the inclusion of young and emerging evaluators in VOPE leadership positions and also mapping that. This task force is led by Rodrigo Lunes Gutierrez, Fazela Hussan, and Maria Alejandra Lucero Manzano. Task Force 2 is focused on the development of an evaluation mentoring program for young and emerging evaluators. This task force is led by Antonella Guidoccio, Muhammad Rej, and Quadratullah Jahid. And of course, we have the folks who lead Task Force 3, who were a big part of helping to bring this conference to realization. And they deserve a big round of applause for helping to put this conference together. This task force is comprised of, is led by Josette Arvelo, Sofia Estevez, and Antonina Rishko-Porscu. Okay, so now that I've talked about the challenges, what we think is a solution, the amazing team of individuals who are helping us to work on this, the last thing I'd like to talk about is, of course, the future for EvalYouth. So currently, Task Force 1 is planning to start harvesting these stories of how ye are involved in vote-by governance. So please be on a lookout for an email from them. It helps us because we can't do this work without folks being willing to help us understand where these stories might be located and what the important pieces to understand are about these stories. Also, you may have seen an email from that actually comes from Task Force 2. They're currently conducting an environmental scan of ye mentoring across the globe. They're doing this through a survey. And again, if you've received this email, we would appreciate you helping us get a clearer picture of what's happening, and also forwarding that email to anyone else that you think might have something important to say about mentoring going on across the globe, specifically for young and emerging evaluators. Of course, you probably picked up on the fact that much of our work has been focused on young and emerging evaluators over the past year. This year, we hope to begin focusing some of our efforts on the second leg of our work, that is inclusion of youth in evaluation. And the one thing I'll say is we are always looking for volunteers. So we need your help. And we're looking for volunteers who want to be a part of this exciting work and can help us build even faster momentum in this area. You don't need to consider yourself a young and emerging evaluator to be a member of EvalYouth. That's probably the question I get most often. You don't need to be a young and emerging evaluator. But if you are, we will take you too. The thing that I think unites all of us who are a part of EvalYouth is our passion and our commitment to the future of evaluation. So we also invite vote-bays, regional, national, to join EvalYouth, even if they have similar initiatives. And if you're interested, we have an email address. It is evalyouth@gmail.com. So please send us an email if you're interested in volunteering for this task force, for helping out with one of the existing task forces, or just exploring collaborations that we might engage in 2017. So we think this is exciting. The future of EvalYouth is bright. We hope it's a better future for young and emerging evaluators and youth and young people. And we hope that it moves from becoming a dream to becoming a reality. You heard Ziad talk about a dream. I also want to put those dreams into a reality. So in closing, let me say a few final words. EvalYouth has achieved great success in 2017 with its priority actions. 2017 will be a year in which the mobilization of ye's and partners will be even stronger. And we have a motto that we say to ourselves, together we can. And it's because we really, really believe it. We are stronger together working on these issues. So in closing, let me just say thank you for giving me an opportunity to share EvalYouth with you. And I look forward to welcoming you into the EvalYouth family, working with you, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful conference.